from Dallas. Hello, Twitter. The latest from our daily newsletter at podnews.net. Podcasts are coming to Twitter, the company announced late Thursday. Shows appear in the redesigned Spaces tab. However, you'll not be able to choose individual shows. The interface gives pre-selected shows in topic-based playlists called stations. It uses RSS and is curated from what people you follow listen to. A spokesperson has told Input that there is no search facility nor any ability to add your own RSS feeds. Described as a test, it'll be available to random users around the world in English. Well, what goes around comes around. Twitter was built by a company whose first product was Odeo, a podcast directory and hosting service. Most podcast producers use Zoom for guest interviews, according to new research from Interview Valet, announced at Podcast Movement. 74% of guest interviews have a video component, and 5% of shows charge the guest to appear. The organisers of Podcast Movement have apologised after Ben Shapiro, a controversial right-leaning commentator and former editor-at-large of Breitbart News, was a surprise visitor to the event on Tuesday, and that his top 10 podcast company, The Daily Wire, was exhibiting. Online, there was both criticism of Shapiro's presence and of Podcast Movement's apology. Karen Burgess from Pacific Content covers 3 sessions at Podcast Movement, including one I participated in. Earlier, Annalisa Nielsen gives her write-up of Sounds Profitable's Business Leaders Summit. You'll find those linked from our show notes and our newsletter at podnews.net. At the time of writing, Meghan Markle's podcast has made it to number 1 on Spotify in the US. It's relatively unusual to see anything but Rogan in the top spot. YouTube says that its new podcast section will be enhanced later this year. We'll continue iterating on the current destination page and plan to launch new features meant to enhance the podcast listening experience for our users within the coming months, the company tells Podnews. It's currently available to US users only. Inside Radio has published its annual list of the most powerful people in podcasting. The publication, which is owned by a subsidiary of iHeartMedia, has sidestepped criticism after consistently placing iHeart's Conal Byrne in the number 1 slot in previous years. The new list, though, which has grown from 10 to 50 people, is now in alphabetical order. It's a good move. At Podcast Movement, NPR and LAist Studios announced 4 projects which have been selected for the company's first lab for Latinx creators. Odyssey's Cadence 13 has partnered with veteran journalist Stephen A. Smith for a thrice weekly show. No Mercy launches at the end of September. Podcasting in Africa is on the rise. Why isn't it profitable yet? A story in Tech Cabal looks at the podcast industry throughout Africa. And Readly, a digital magazine and newspaper app, added podcasts to their app earlier this year in the UK and Sweden. Speaking in Press Gazette, the company's CCO, Ranj Bagley, suggests that it has lowered churn. And in podcast news, Small Talk is Dead is new this week from Spotify's Gimlet, a limited series from 3 producers from the company's Sound Up programme. The show explores the rules around race, gender and money. Bjork, Sonic Symbolism is new from Talkhouse and MailChimp Presents. Created and hosted by Bjork, the intimate and immersive new podcast features a first-person reflection on the textures, timbres and emotional landscapes that characterise the creation of each of her albums. And Marvel's Voices returns this week for a new season, hosted by Angelique Rocher. The season looks at how a variety of cultures and mythologies have played a key role in the creation of Marvel characters and how their cultures and nationalities have influenced stories within the Marvel universe. And talking about voices, I'm off to rest mine. That's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories and subscribe, we're at podnews.net.